I would love to go vegan, but I'm always hungry.
This is why. Hi guys, welcome back to The Vegan View. So one of the questions we get a lot is, I'd love to go vegan, but last time I did it, I was hungry, or I'm always super hungry now that I've gone vegan. And we want to give you some tips because we are experts in feeling full, I feel like.
So Melina is our guest today, and you might recognize her from some of our other episodes. We love having her here, and we are going to talk about how to feel full, because that's a big misconception when people are thinking about going vegan, or they maybe try a couple vegan meals and then they're hungry and they're like, this is not sustainable. How do people do it? Mm-hmm. So we brought Melina because she's awesome, and she also loves food. So
and she's always full. Well, I think that there's two reasons for this. I have two opinions. I think that a lot of people who first transition to going vegan go from eating like a lot of junky food, like fast food, and then all of a sudden they're like, I'm gonna go vegan, so I'm gonna eat vegetables. And yeah, of course it's a different feeling. It's like when you eat that stuff, you think that full is like that feeling when you feel like you're gonna die. Mm-hmm. You're like, I'm fed now, God, like, you remember, like, before you went vegan, you would eat a meal and then you'd be like, oh my God, I feel like, and you think that's being full. And it's like, no, it's not. You eat like a proper nutritious meal and then you just feel nourished. Or they go from like eating junk or whatever and just having salads. They think that being vegan is just having a salad and nothing else. And it's like, no, like, you have to make, like you were saying earlier, lentil soup, eat a bunch of lentils with vegetables, and then have like 2 pieces of bread and dip it in there, and then, you know, eat something substantial. Like, vegetables are gonna go right through you. You're gonna be hungry very quickly. And snacking. I snack all the time. I always have bags of snacks with me. And granola bars, Clif bars, all the time.
I agree. Before I went vegan, I would literally feel so sick and full after every single meal that I would literally feel like a nap. And it wasn't until I started eating, because I actually was very unhealthy before I was vegan. Very like standard American diet, like not a lot of vegetables for me. Then when like I started eating vegan, I was like, this is so weird. Like I don't feel this sick feeling, like I literally have to have a food coma after I eat. And so I think that, people misconstrue that is not a normal feeling. It's not a healthy feeling to feel that sick and tired after you eat. Food is supposed to be nourishing and fuel for your day, and it's not supposed to make you feel like you want to like die after and take a nap.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because I've actually forgotten that happened. I like when you guys were talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's because all those meals were so full of saturated fat and like excess sodium, and it's just this low nutritive food versus plants, which are like super low in calorie and high nutrients, and it's just such a different feeling of feeling like your stomach is stretched and satiated versus you're like, oh my God, I can't eat any more fried fatty things. And I know a lot of people, when they go vegan, tend to eat the same portion size as those fried fatty things instead of adding in more plant-based options rather than just taking out stuff from what you eat. Like if you're having spaghetti and meatballs and now you're just having like pasta marinara, like add in some vegetables to the sauce, add in some like vegan meatballs, or they have like lentil balls that are delicious.
The lentil balls are so
add in some lentils for like a meat sauce.
Because if you're eating meat as your main portion of your meal, that in itself is so filling. It's gonna take you so much longer to digest. So when you think about eating pre-vegan, you're eating like a thing of meat, you're eating a little side of vegetables, and you're maybe eating like a grain. It's not that much food because the meat is so heavy and so dense and is taking your body so much energy to break down that you will feel full off of like such a small amount of food. Whereas like when you're going vegan, all of the foods you're eating are super rich in fiber, and they're gonna break down really quickly in your body. You have to like double, even maybe triple the amount that you were eating. If I'm not gonna have like a heavy protein with my meal, like a tempeh or a tofu. I hate saying protein because everything has protein in it. Like beans have protein in it, vegetables have protein in it.
But what everybody else sees as protein.
Yeah, what the rest of the world considers a protein, then I'm gonna have like literally a bowl this big of like vegetables. Like I will eat that many because that's how much it's gonna take for me to feel full. And it's actually amazing. I love being able to eat that much.
Yeah, I love that. Like taking the calories that you would miss when you take out that piece of steak from the veggies and the grains by replacing it with more vegan alternatives. A chicken breast or a piece of steak or some kind of other animal flesh. It's very calorie dense. It's a muscle from a living being. Like a lot of effort and water and food went into that. And now you're just eating like straight from the stores. You're cutting out the middleman. And so of course there's lower density of calories and you kind of do have to replace that. And I know for me, I was like, it just looked huge. Everything looks so huge to me, especially coming from like a Western perspective and seeing like other women, especially eating like these tiny portion meals, like, and now eating these like fully incorporated foods with like fats and veggies and really upping the calories through like replacing.
Yeah, if you're focusing on a whole food plant-based diet, you're getting a lot of volume, but not as many calories. So you're gonna feel full, but then you might get hungry quicker because you're not eating maybe enough calories. So what's important for me is to remember that I need to layer in ingredients. So what I like to do is make sure that my plate, there's something called the plate method, which is where half your plate is vegetables and then the other, you can divide the other half into grains and proteins. But like you said, it's all kind of protein and you don't really think of food as separately as you do before you're vegan. But I think that just making sure that your plate is always going to have a ton of fiber, a good amount of healthy fats, a good amount of protein, and making sure that it's balanced in that way so that you don't get those insulin spikes from just eating pure carbs. Like if you're just eating a meal of potatoes, you might feel full, but you might get hungry again really quickly. Versus if you have some like avocado and some greens and some vegetables and some beans, and that's all kind of in the mix, you're going to have like a much more steady energy level, blood sugar, exactly.
That's a great point, and I think that the standard American diet and like just how diet culture has been in our society for so long that we demonize certain food groups and we are scared to indulge in them. And I think if you're coming off of any type of like diet history, then it's really about retraining your brain to accept those foods as food. Like I was super afraid of super condensed fats, like peanut butter, like was scary to me, and like too much avocado. I had somebody tell me once that you should only have like a fourth of an avocado a day. And so I was like super afraid of like adding avocado to my food, and so then I would feel hungry when I would leave those things out. And again with carbs, society is so carb phobic, and you have to have carbs. Like your brain needs it for fuel. So if you're leaving out fats and you're leaving out carbs and you're only focusing on one food group like a salad, you are going to feel hungry. Absolutely.
Going back to talking about fat, what you both said about fat, something like I think of when feeling full is not just feeling like physically full, like your stomach stretching, that sensation, but also feeling like satiated, like taste-wise. We have a fantastic episode with Lauren Toyota where she talks about like salt, tangy, different ways to incorporate flavor into vegan meals, because a lot of these traditional cooking techniques are thought to be only isolated to like meat and animal products, and then we just go vegan and we like forget about spices and
long,
salt
like
and
smoking
fat.
meat or like braising meat, but then you'll just steam broccoli.
Or people will be like, tofu's so terrible, it's so flavorless. And it's like, well, what would you do with a piece of meat? You marinate it overnight. You put all these spices and rubs on it and stuff.
And a lot of like meat is, since it's muscle, there's layers of fat. Like it's a piece of body, so it's kind of, I mean, it's gross to think about, but it's like a good way to think about flavoring and feeling physically satiated, like taste-wise, is to incorporate like, what is this missing? For me, it was a lot of like fat and salt. So incorporating that salt and that fat and just makes your mouth feel like it is getting good food. And I know if like you just eat plain rice versus like rice with avocado, what a sensation, you know? It's don't be afraid of incorporating things that like enhance flavor to feel full.
I also think a huge thing that I learned is when I first went vegan, I would follow strictly vegan recipes, and they were always like kind of flavorless. I'm like, what is missing here? So we started just looking at regular recipes like fried rice and stuff, and just switching it out. Like I remember for Christmas last year or something, I brought a batch of cookies to some friends, and they were like, these are amazing, how are these vegan? And I'm like, honestly, I didn't look up a vegan chocolate chip cookie recipe. I took a regular chocolate chip cookie recipe and just substituted
Yeah.
all the ingredients, and they were amazing. They were
Yeah.
the best cookies I ever made, and I'm like, oh, this is the secret to it. Or like with Just Egg now, for fried rice and stuff, we'll put a little bit of that in there.
It's so good in fried rice.
Yeah, because you're not missing any ingredients. You
Yeah.
just have to switch them out. And there's so many things available now that it's
Yeah.
so easy to do that.
Yeah.
And that helps with being full because you're not like
you have to love
eliminating
it.
anything.
Yeah.
You're just replacing it.
If you're forcing yourself to eat foods that you don't like let's say you've always hated broccoli, for example, then if you're forcing yourself to eat it just because you're vegan and it's a vegan food, you're going to be miserable on a vegan diet and you're never going to be satiated. You might be full, but you might not be satiated.
Yeah.
So I think really finding foods that you like and finding ways to prepare them is really going to make a big difference as well.
A huge part of like how I stay full is like what you said, the stuff that you would normally be afraid of is like fats.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know, maybe I just didn't read the blogs. I've never, so I'll make a smoothie and I'll put a spoonful of peanut butter. I'll put like a whole avocado in there. And I have that and I'm full for like 5 hours. And I've just never thought about it that way. I've never tried to restrict myself in any way. And I'm like, oh, okay, these things are healthy. I know that avocados are good for you. Peanut butter is a good source of protein. It's just delicious and it fills you up. And I will have peanut butter toast with cinnamon on top of it and a little bit of agave. And it's just like, if I have those things, then I don't ever feel hungry. I'm always full. I'm literally always full.
Yeah. I think it's just about trusting your body that if you're putting the right foods in it and you're eating until you feel satisfied, like you will be full. And I think it's less about thinking about it. I think you totally hit the nail on the head. Stop worrying about calories, stop worrying about fats, stop worrying about how many carbs you're eating, and eat healthy, whole food, plant-based food until you're full.
And honestly, sometimes even if you want to go get Veggie Girl and get a buffalo bomber with some mac and cheese on the side, then you should. I think always thinking about it and obsessing about it is what leaves you with that like, oh, I'm hungry, and you're always thinking about food. I'm never like, well, this is the portion I'm allowing myself to have, and that is it. And if I'm still hungry afterwards, too bad. I just think that's really unhealthy, and that's what's helped me.
So this is a really common issue for new vegans, and I think I get this comment in my DMs all the time, like, I'm still hungry after I'm eating, I don't know what I'm doing. It's really important to do a little self-check. Take these points that we've talked about, flavor, fat, incorporating more calorie-dense foods to replace the ones you're omitting, and going back, okay, what did I just eat? How much did I just eat? Portion size. Was I replacing the amount of calories that I took out from omitting the animal products? Flavor, did I have lots of fat, lots of salt, fat, acid, heat? The Lauren Toyota episode's great for that one. And then going back and seeing, am I missing something? Like, do I really want to taste junk food? Is it not like a physically full feeling? Like, and indulge that. You don't want to get obsessive about foods and then start denying yourself, like subconsciously.
Piggybacking off of that, I think the thought, I'm still hungry, the answer is eat.
Yes.
Like if you ate breakfast and you are still hungry, then eat a snack in between breakfast and lunch. Like, stop thinking so hard about it. If you're hungry, eat. Your body is telling you it needs it, so just do it.
Have you ever observed animals when they're eating? Like, generally they eat until they're full, and then if you put food in front of them again, like, treats are different, because I think like I'm thinking of dogs specifically, like, you're like, you want a treat? And it's like this whole thing.
Dogs specifically.
I'm thinking of dogs specifically. You know, you say like, you want a treat, and it's like this whole, that's something different. But if you have a cat, for example, and you have a bowl of food out, they'll eat until they're satiated, and then the food can sit there, and they'll come back to it when they're hungry again. And animals just instinctually eat until they're full, and then stop when they're full, and they'll come back.
Too.
Yeah,
like
children
babies
are the same way.
they're like, yeah, I don't like this, I want that.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm done. And they eat sporadically, they eat whenever they're hungry.
But we're like, oh, I need to eat now because I'm not gonna have a chance to eat later, or I just ate so I can't eat again. And animals don't think that way, or they don't behave in that way. So I think we forget sometimes that we are also animals, and that a lot of this can be a lot more simple than we're making it. But I also think on the flip side of that, the more you learn about nutrition, the easier it gets. I'm taking a class right now on plant-based nutrition at Cornell. Yeah, and it's so helpful. Just like knowing what foods do what to your body, and like when people are saying, oh, well, carbs are bad. Well, why do they think that is, and what do carbs actually do in the body? And LDL cholesterol, how does that, why is that actually bad in your body? Having a really deep understanding of the way that works in our system changes the way you eat, I think, for the better.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point, because a lot of people will hear these things like carbs are bad, but they won't like, well, why?
Why?
Like, I need to know this information. And I am certainly not. I mean, I literally just said, like, I didn't even know. I still don't understand what calories are. But I still am educated enough, like, okay, well, I know that I need this. I know that I need this. I know that this is healthy. This is not so healthy. And it's not, you don't need to take a class. You don't need to, like, everybody can have some understanding of what's good and what's bad and how to stay full and stuff. Like,
use your body as a gauge too.
Exactly.
Like, you feel good when you eat a certain way and you feel bad when you don't, so let that be your guide as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Another thought that came to my mind is that if you're someone who eats out a lot and you're eating out and you're asking for the vegan option at a place, a lot of places that don't have like an all vegan menu, they have very little understanding about a vegan diet, and they've put together like cauliflower with some hummus, and like that's their vegan dish, and that's nowhere near going to be enough food for you. So definitely try to make your meals at home if you're feeling that way. I know we're lucky to live in a place where there's a lot of vegan restaurants that like you can get a really good hearty vegan meal eating out, but I know it's not the case everywhere. So like I would say if you're someone who eats out a lot, learn how to like make food at home or
Eat
get
before.
I eat before
Yeah,
all the time.
All right, guys, we hope you found these tips helpful, and please let us know in the comments down below if you have any tips to feel full on a vegan diet, on a plant-based diet, and anything that you've experienced in your journey as well. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure you follow Melina. We will leave all of her information in the description box down below, so give her some love. And make sure you subscribe to this channel before you leave. Give this video a thumbs up. Share it with anybody who might need it. That helps us out a lot. We also have a Facebook group if you're interested in having some vegan friends and joining a vegan community of sorts. We have our individual channels as well, and we will see you guys next week on another episode. Bye.